Have you ever wondered why Brits say sorry even when it's not their fault, or why tea seems to solve every problem? From driving on the left to dunking biscuits in tea, Britain is full of quirks that outsiders find baffling. Here are 20 things that feel completely normal in the UK but strange to everyone else. Nowhere does tradition quite like Britain. From the changing of the guard outside Buckingham Palace to the pageantry of trooping the colour, ceremonial events remain part of everyday culture. These spectacles blend centuries of history with modern tourism, drawing crowds from across the world. For locals, it is both familiar and peculiar. One week, you might walk past the Horse Guards parade on your way to work. The next, millions tune in for a royal wedding. The sight of crowns, uniforms, and marching bands is so ingrained that it barely raises an eyebrow in Britain. Elsewhere, such elaborate displays might feel theatrical or excessive, but in the UK, it is simply a reminder of continuity and national pride. Ask any Brit what defines the country, and the National Health Service will be near the top of the list. The principle is simple. When you go to the doctor or hospital, you do not pay at the door. It has been this way since 1948, and the idea of charging for emergency care feels unthinkable to most people. Visitors are often shocked by this, especially in countries where medical bills can spiral. Of course, the NHS has its challenges, but the cultural expectation is strong. Whether it is a broken arm, flu treatment, or maternity care, the service is a fixture of everyday life. For Britain, free healthcare is not just a system, it is part of national identity. If you picture British work culture, imagine a strong cup of tea gulped down in 5 minutes before getting back to the desk. Lunches are rarely long or elaborate, with many people grabbing a sandwich, crisps, and maybe a chocolate bar from the nearest shop. A meal deal from Tesco or Boots is practically a daily ritual. While continental Europe enjoys long midday breaks, the British working day is all about speed and efficiency. Tea breaks, however, remain sacred. A quick pause to boil the kettle, chat briefly, and sip before returning to work is a routine almost every office shares. It is not glamorous, but it reflects the no-nonsense rhythm of British workplaces and their love of tea. In Britain, social housing is not hidden away on the edges of cities. Council estates sit side by side with private housing, forming part of the urban landscape. These estates were built after the Second World War to provide affordable homes, and many still stand today. Visitors sometimes find it surprising to see such a mix of housing types so close together. For locals, it is completely ordinary to grow up in a council flat, attend school nearby, and share the same high street as everyone else. The estates themselves vary widely, from tall tower blocks to neat rows of houses. Love them or criticize them, council estates remain a familiar part of British communities and identity. Home ownership may be a dream, but renting for decades is a reality for many in Britain. With property prices high, renting has become a long-term way of life rather than a short stop on the path to buying. Assured short-hold tenancies shape the rental market, giving tenants rights and responsibilities that are well understood. For young people especially, moving from one rented flat to another is an ordinary part of adult life. What surprises outsiders is how normal it feels. While in some countries renting is seen as temporary or less secure, in Britain it is simply another option. Whether in city centre flats or suburban semis, renting is woven into the fabric of everyday living. There is an art to British understatement. Instead of saying something is excellent, you might hear, not bad. If a problem is nearly impossible, it becomes a bit tricky. This habit puzzles outsiders who expect plain language, but for Brits it is second nature. Irony and self-deprecation are part of daily speech too. Compliment a Brit, and you are likely to get a shrug and a witty remark rather than open pride. It keeps conversations light, avoids boasting, and adds humour to ordinary situations. To others, it can feel confusing or even misleading, but within Britain, it is a shared code. Understatement is not about hiding the truth, it is about softening it with charm and wit. Few words define Britain more than sorry. You will hear it when someone bumps into you, even if it was your fault. It slips into conversations, emails, and everyday exchanges with strangers. Saying sorry is less about admitting guilt and more about keeping the peace. It works as a social cushion, smoothing awkward moments and avoiding confrontation. For outsiders, this level of politeness can feel excessive or unnecessary. Yet for Brits, it is automatic, almost as reflexive as breathing. In busy streets, crowded trains, or bustling shops, sorry becomes a way to move through life politely. It is more than a word. It is a cultural habit that reflects the British preference for harmony over conflict. If there is one rule you never break in Britain, it is the queue. Lining up neatly is treated with near religious respect, whether it is outside a shop, at the bus stop, or waiting for the cinema. The order of arrival matters, and anyone attempting to cut in faces silent but fierce disapproval. Outsiders sometimes underestimate just how deep this cultural habit runs. Queuing is seen as fair, democratic, and essential to keeping life civil. Even at chaotic events, a line will somehow form. For Brits, queuing is more than waiting. It is a symbol of patience and respect. To push ahead is not just rude. It is practically an act of social rebellion in the UK. In Britain, chips are not just a side dish, they are a national staple. Curry and chips, fish and chips, even pizza with chips are perfectly normal meals. Walk into a takeaway, and chances are chips will be part of the order no matter what else you choose. This carb-heavy tradition surprises many visitors who expect fries only with burgers. In Britain, though, chips are versatile, cheap, and comforting. They belong equally in the pub, the chippy, or the dinner table at home. For many, they bring back memories of childhood suppers or seaside holidays. Outsiders may find it excessive, but in Britain, chips are more than food. They are a cultural comfort that never goes out of style. For visitors from countries like America, the absence of free refills in Britain comes as a shock. Order a coffee and you will pay for each cup. Soft drinks are the same, with no endless topping up at restaurants. In Britain, drinks are purchased individually, and unlimited refills feel unusual, almost wasteful. Some chains have introduced self-serve options, but it is far from standard. This approach ties into a broader cultural habit of moderation. Drinks are enjoyed steadily, not in bottomless quantities. While visitors may find it restrictive, Brits see it as normal. Having to pay again for another cup is simply the way it has always been. Free refills are not the expectation here, they are the... Few dishes divide opinion like mushy peas. To Brits, this green soft-side dish is a natural partner for fish and chips. Made from marrow-fat peas cooked until they collapse into a thick mash, they are seen as traditional, hearty, and comforting. Visitors often find the texture surprising and the appearance unusual, but for many in Britain, it is part of the full chippy experience. A proper plate of fish and chips feels incomplete without them, especially in the north. Mushy peas are not glamorous, but they are nostalgic, cheap, and filling. They reflect a kind of no-frills cooking that has fed working communities for generations, and to many Brits, they taste like home. Sundays in Britain often revolve around the roast. Families gather for plates piled high with roasted meat, golden potatoes, vegetables, and the beloved Yorkshire pudding, all covered in rich gravy. It is more than a meal, it is a weekly ritual that marks the end of the weekend. Outsiders may not understand the loyalty to this tradition, but in Britain the roast is part of cultural identity. Even pubs and restaurants dedicate their menus to it on Sundays. The meal carries a sense of comfort and continuity, connecting people across generations. Whether cooked at home or enjoyed at the local, the Sunday roast remains one of the country's most enduring and cherished traditions. In Britain, tea and biscuits go hand in hand. A steaming cup is rarely complete without a digestive, a rich tea, or a chocolate hobnob alongside it. What surprises visitors is the ritual of dunking. Dipping a biscuit into hot tea softens it just enough to release its flavour before it crumbles. While it may seem messy to outsiders, to Brits it is a perfectly normal habit that carries a touch of nostalgia. Entire varieties of biscuits are made with tea drinking in mind. It is a small everyday act, yet one that defines British life. The humble dunk is about comfort, routine, and finding joy in the simplest of pairings. For almost every situation in Britain, tea is the answer. Bad day at work? Put the kettle on. Good news to celebrate? Tea again. This habit is deeply ingrained in British culture, where tea is more than a drink. It is an act of care. Offering someone a cup is a way of providing comfort or bridging silence. Workplaces, hospitals, and households all share this tradition. Outsiders may see it as repetitive, but within Britain, it is a social glue. Making tea is a ritual of patience, warmth, and familiarity. It slows life down for a moment and provides reassurance. For many Brits, a proper cup of tea really does make everything better. In Britain, postcodes are far more detailed than many visitors realise. A single postcode can point to a specific street, building, or even a handful of houses. Locals use them not only for deliveries but also for sat-nav, filling out forms, and identifying neighbourhoods. To outsiders, it feels like a highly precise coordinate system rather than just an address label. Postcodes even carry a sense of identity, with certain areas recognised instantly by their code. This system has become second nature in daily life, from ordering takeaway to registering with a doctor. While others rely on broad zip codes, Britain's postcodes are sharp and exact, shaping how people navigate, locate, and even describe their communities. Visitors are often surprised when British shops shut their doors early on Sundays. This tradition comes from old trading laws that limited Sunday shopping hours. While rules are now more relaxed, the habit remains, especially outside big cities. High streets often feel quieter, with shops closing mid-afternoon or not opening at all. For Brits, it is simply part of the weekly rhythm. Families plan shopping trips around it, and supermarkets still follow shorter hours compared to weekdays. Outsiders used to 24-hour convenience find it restrictive, but in Britain it feels natural. The shorter hours give Sundays a slower pace, offering a sense of pause before the week begins again. It is tradition lingering in modern life. Paying with a quick tap is second nature in Britain. Whether it is buying a coffee, hopping on the bus, or grabbing a pint at the pub, contactless cards and phones are the default. Chip and pin remains, but cash is steadily disappearing, especially in cities. Visitors may be surprised to find even tiny corner shops and market stalls offering tap to pay as standard. This ease of payment reflects a culture of speed and convenience. While some still carry coins for small purchases, it is increasingly rare. The shift has been so complete that not having contactless can feel unusual. In Britain today, tapping your card is not just an option, it is the everyday way to pay. British housing often looks different to outsiders. Rows of narrow terraced houses line streets, each home tall and slim, with rooms stacked vertically. These houses were built in the 18th and 19th centuries to make efficient use of small plots in growing towns and cities. Mews houses, once stables, have been converted into compact but highly sought-after homes. To visitors, the size of the rooms and the closeness of neighbours can feel unusual. For Brits, though, it is normal to live in a terrace with a tiny garden or no driveway at all. These houses are symbols of history, practicality, and community. They show how older urban design still shapes modern life in Britain. Britain has a special love for roundabouts. From quiet villages with tiny painted circles to sprawling city intersections, they are everywhere. Instead of traffic lights or four-way stops, roundabouts keep cars moving in a smooth, clockwise flow. Outsiders often find them daunting, especially the multi-lane ones that seem chaotic at first glance. The most famous, the Magic Roundabout in Swindon, even features 5 smaller roundabouts feeding into one giant circle. To Brits, though, roundabouts are just part of the daily commute. Drivers instinctively know when to yield and how to join the flow. While they may puzzle visitors, roundabouts remain a hallmark of British roads, designed to keep traffic moving without endless stops and starts. One of the first things foreigners notice in Britain is the traffic moving on the left-hand side. Steering wheels sit on the right, road signs face the opposite way, and the entire system is designed around left-side driving. It feels unusual to anyone from right-hand traffic countries, and mistakes can happen quickly for visitors. Crossing the street even requires looking the wrong way first. Yet for Brits, it is second nature, learned from the moment they step onto the road as children. It also connects Britain with a small group of other nations, from Australia to Japan. While it can feel confusing to outsiders, driving on the left is one of the most iconic quirks of British life. And that wraps up our journey through Britain's everyday quirks. If any of these felt familiar or made you smile, don't forget to drop a like, and make sure to subscribe for more dives into culture, history, and those little details that make life unique. See you next time.